Today on Monkey Life. It's all hands on deck as Gordon's orangs swap houses with Sally's chimps.
Coming down.
Okay, you got that bit wrong.
A heart-stopping moment for the team when Cherri tests out the high hose with her twins in tow.
All we can do is hope and keep our fingers crossed.
Come on then, guys!
And Sam and Sasak reap the benefits from their new enclosure. Monkey World in Dorset, nestled deep in the English countryside, is the largest sanctuary of its kind on the planet. The team, led by Dr. Alison Cronin, rescues and rehabilitates abused and unwanted primates from all over the world.
Smells a bit macaque in there, but yeah, we're good.
The park provides a home for more than 240 monkeys and apes, allowing them to live out their lives in safety and peace. It's an early start for the team, who have a big day ahead. There's going to be a major house move. Sally's group of chimps are going to be swapping with Gordon's orangs.
One crate, one form of transport, and just do a shuttle service. Yeah.
It's going to be logistically challenging, but the staff have decided it's necessary, because they feel Gordon isn't doing particularly well living next door to the park's other dominant male orangutan, Tuan. They can see each other over the fence that divides them, and Gordon is constantly grumpy. In the wild, they wouldn't live in such close proximity. Sally's chimp enclosure is at the other side of the park, so well away from any other orangs. But moving 9 apes is no mean feat and requires a lot of planning.
We've split it up in half because it might take a while, and this morning we're aiming to shift 5 chimpanzees in Sally's group. Jeremy's got everybody inside overnight, which is good, and he's going down to give them a pre-medication that will make them drowsy and dopey, hopefully.
Each of the chimps will be given an anaesthetic to allow the team to move them safely and quickly.
Main thing is 1 person at a time so that John can travel with them to make sure that there aren't any problems with their breathing, or indeed when we reverse them out of the anaesthetic that they actually come to and are starting to sit up before we head off and get the next individual. So we'll be cutting it close.
In situations like these, it's easier for the primate care staff to inject the animals rather than the veterinary team.
If they see me, they will assume something is up and then get a bit more wound up and more difficult to hand inject and so on. So it's not important. It's important I'm not there, actually.
We'll put Bud in first. Yeah.
Adult female Lulu is the first to be moved.
We just got Lulu down, anaesthetized into the box in a good recovery position. She's breathing well. And we're just about to move her down to the orangutan house. So all good, really good first one.
John isn't taking any chances. He'll stay with each of the 5 chimps throughout the journey. But Sally and her gang won't see their new home until tomorrow. They'll be spending the night in a holding area, as there won't be time to move Gordon's group today as well.
Oh, good. Fantastic.
Once Lulu has come round from the anaesthetic, it's time to get Sally. Jeremy has a special relationship with these 5 chimps and won't leave them until they're safely awake. Sally is reassured to see him. He's known her for more than 20 years.
Just got a radio call from Kate, and that's 3 for 3. Brian's just taken his injection of the anaesthetic willingly, so really good news.
While Brian is asleep, the team take the opportunity to check his teeth. This is the first time Brian has been under anaesthetic since he arrived at the park from Mexico in 2006. He was rescued after being used as a beach photographer's prop. But during that time, most of his junior teeth were knocked out.
If you look at his teeth now and didn't know that history, you would have said, that's a good mouth. So he's over those dental issues. Those teeth look good.
That's my boy, Mr. Brian.
Hi.
The two youngest chimps have been left until last. Mischievous Rodders doesn't know what to make of his new surroundings when he wakes up.
Hello, young man.
Oh, coming down. Okay, you got that bit wrong.
And 9-year-old Ash proves to be quite a handful, but she does like her food.
God, she is hefty. She might be heavier than Brian, eh?
The final journey of the day. The team take the opportunity to weigh Ash.
Yeah, told you. -11 for the cargo net.
So, 61 kilos. That's heavier than any of the others in Sally's group.
Absolutely fantastic. That's the first half of the big 8 move done. That's Sally's lot decanted into the sort of new area, and tomorrow morning, it's a big day with moving Gordon's group of orang-utans, so halfway there.
The chimps are still a bit dazed from the anaesthetic, but by the time they get to see their new playroom tomorrow, they'll be raring to go. It's been an eventful time for another group of chimps too. Hananya's gang have been stuck inside for 3 days since Cherri gave birth to her twins because the staff wanted to monitor their progress. But the group are getting restless.
It's a nervous time because we need to see what Cherri's going to do. But we're going to give them at least the morning outside, see what happens, see if she chooses to go out, see how she's moving around.
The chimps don't hang around. As soon as the slide to the outside is open, they make a run for it, led by low ranker Arfur, Jess, and second in command, Tico. Cherri hangs back with her babies, but once the coast is clear, she ventures outside, with her self-appointed bodyguard Simon bringing up the rear. And Arfur coming back to give her moral support. Arfur chases Trudy away so that Cherri can eat her breakfast in peace. And wherever Cherri goes, the twins go too, and that includes the climbing frame. Although Arfur and Simon have always got her back. And front. The two chimps have been overly attentive towards Cherri ever since the newborns arrived.
I think Cherri obviously has her favoured spots in terms of the outside enclosure, and so I think at the moment she's just really testing and seeing where she can go and what is possible with the twins on board. I mean, we're seeing that she's tending to shelter the twins with one arm and use the other arm to climb.
Tootie is gathering wood wool to make herself a big cosy nest. But the advantage of being a dominant female with babies in tow is that you can pull rank. And Cherri does just that, leaving Tootie to tend to her every need.
She needs to have periods of inactivity so that the twins can feed. And if it's mild, we're happy if she chooses to do that outside. And she's obviously capitalising on that dominant status to steal a nest when it takes her fancy.
Cherri has always loved joining the others on the high hoses, and she doesn't see having the twins in tow as a handicap. But it's an anxious time for the team. One wrong move and there could be a tragedy. Cherri doesn't have the best track record when it comes to rearing babies.
We're just going to have to take each day as it comes and pray that she doesn't start setting those infants down. She's a lot older, she's maturer, and so is the group. And the way that the group's behaving is different as well, so we can do is hope and keep our fingers crossed that she will continue to care for the infants as she has in the last couple of days.
It's day 2 of the big house swap. Sally, Lulu, Brian, Ash and Rodders are waiting to get into their new residence. But they can't move in until Gordon and his gang have moved out. Like yesterday, the animals are all going to be anaesthetised one by one. And wildlife vet John Lewis is overseeing the whole operation. They're going to start with the big man himself. But sedating large animals isn't easy, and John knows Gordon could prove problematic.
With all the animals we're moving, the potential for problems is greater with him. I'm not saying you won't have a problem-free, that you won't get problems with other anaesthetics, but the potential is greater with him. So once having done him, we can move on to what should be the more straightforward anaesthetics. He's not out yet.
Gordon does cooperate, but his anaesthetic takes a while to work. Nosy neighbour Mojo of The Bachelors tries to find out what's going on. It takes a while, but eventually Gordon does fall asleep. And then it's all systems go.
Keeping the head up, keeping the head up.
It's on its way.
That's what I did. Okay. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Once again, John will stick with Gordon all the way to monitor his breathing.
Somebody got a gas kit? It was
Yeah,
there.
I've got it right here. Transport.
At least a lot of problems.
Okay. All right.
Okay, let's go slowly.
Slow, slow.
Yeah.
It's a tense time for the team.
We stop on this corner. Right here. Yeah, just take a break there. Stop. Stop. It's only allowing us to check in. Good. We're all good.
You ready for the scales? Yep, let's go. Head up at all times.
Gordon's head needs to be kept up to keep his airway clear. This is particularly tricky in male orangs because of their large throat sacs.
Okay, there's going to be a moment of flat, John.
Yeah, okay, do it quickly. 107.
Allowing for the cargo net, that makes Gordon 97 kilos. He's officially the heaviest primate in the entire park. Once he's safely inside Sally's old house, he's given a drug to reverse the anaesthetic and bring him round.
His breathing's really rapid.
Yeah, I've reversed him.
But Gordon is taking a long time to wake up.
Come on, Gordon. Good boy.
Anaesthetics can be dangerous, and the team are becoming anxious. To their relief, Gordon starts to stir.
The anaesthetic I chose for him is different to that which we used on others to make certain that it supports the breathing more, whereas what we use later on is less of a respiratory stimulant. So the fact that he's now up is perfect.
So, with Gordon settled, they go back to collect his mum, Amy, who, although a female, is also on the heavy side. Gordon is delighted to see her.
The only person who's got any controlling influence over Gordon is his mum. And if Amy tells him to go and sit in the corner because he's been a naughty boy, he will just do that. It really is, it's just like, it really is that extreme.
So, 2 down, 2 to go. But Xiaolan's move hits problems.
Yeah.
Quick. Quickly.
Quickly.
The primate care staff have managed to inject her by hand, but she's climbed up the tunnel and is very drowsy. They need to get her out before she falls, but it's tricky.
If I release this foot, she'll probably drop.
Oh, careful, Jeremy. Her mouth's right on your back. Does look like...
You all right? You want to let go?
Yeah, good job.
Just as they get her loaded, they hit another problem.
We're, John, Lewis.
Xiaolan starts to stir.
Where's the gas? Can I have the gas, Dabby, please?
John didn't want to give her a lot of sedation, but he's having to top her up with gas and air to keep her under.
Charlene went very smoothly, actually, although she wasn't terribly deeply anaesthetised at the beginning. But so that's 3 now, and they're all up and conscious, so we're going to get the 4th.
The last orang to be moved is 19-year-old Lucky, who fortunately is plain sailing. John is pleased with the way the team has pulled together.
Everybody was organised, and if there are lots of jobs to do on a move, and if you can coordinate them, and if everybody knows what they're doing in advance, which clearly they do, it makes the whole thing quicker and more smooth. And added to which, the most important thing was the ability of that primate care staff to hand inject every single animal we moved in the last 2 days. That makes the job so much easier, so much less stressful for animals and people, and quicker.
Tomorrow, the orangs will get a chance to see their new outdoor enclosure, but for now, Lucky just wants to be left in peace. House swaps don't happen very often, but recently there has been another one. Golden-cheeked gibbons Kim and Tien have just been paired up and needed an enclosure of their own, so moved into the siamang enclosure. Sam and Sasak, meanwhile, who were living there, have moved in next door to the rest of Peanut's family. Sam's been a bit grumpy since the move as he doesn't like change, and until now they've been kept inside. But today, they're going to be allowed out into their new tree-filled enclosure for the first time.
We're just having a final check round, make sure everything's safe, there's no damage overnight, the fence is all nice and secure, and that none of the hosing or ropes that we've just put up have actually fallen down or anything like that. Make sure it's all nice and safe for them.
The team have tried to make sure the enclosure is as inviting as possible for the 2 gibbons.
Come on then, guys! Come on!
Sam comes out, but is apprehensive. However, his mate Sasak has no hesitation. She's a confident gibbon and seems keen to explore their new playground. Sam decides to follow Sasak's lead, but is still treading carefully. He's not sure what to make of it all. There's no stopping Sasak, who's immediately made herself at home. Sam decides to try a different approach on the hoses, while Sasak looks on with admiration. Siamangs are the largest and loudest of all gibbons. In the wild, they live in the treetops of the Malaysian and Indonesian rainforests and are incredible acrobats. Sam and Sasak have been quick to notice a huge advantage of this enclosure over their last one. It's full of edible leaves, from beech, oak and birch trees, so they can forage to their heart's content. Their last enclosure had lots of pine trees, which they couldn't eat from.
Sam is certainly looking a lot happier than he has been in the last few days. And every now and then they're going over to each other and just reassuring each other that that bond's still there, and then going off and exploring the rest of the enclosure. So it's really fantastic, exactly what we wanted, and yeah, we're really pleased with that.
There's a hive of activity at Gordon's old orang house as final preparations are made for Sally and her gang. The team are hoping the chimps will like their new home.
Right, ready?
Yeah.
They've been kept in a holding area overnight. A tunnel will lead them to their new house.
Hello, Sal. It's Saucy Sal. I thought you'd be first. Oh, Bri. Hello, man.
Brian follows Sally and is trying to put on a bit of a display to show he's the man about the house.
Hello, Ash. Where's Lou?
Ash has spotted their new neighbours. The all-male bachelors are just as curious about them. Young Rodders and Lulu bring up the tail end. Brian decides to show who's boss. But next door, orangutan Tuan is having none of it. Rodders has spotted the neighbours now. Butch and his merry men seem bemused to have a new group of chimps nearby. Sally, wise as ever, is taking it all in her stride.
This is a great sign that it seems they've just come through here. They seem really calm and enjoying looking around and having much more of a perspective, I guess, than they had at the old house. So, yeah, I'm really pleased.
Yeah, it's fun, isn't it?
The chimps seem transfixed with their new surroundings, but interesting though it all is, they can't stay in the tunnel all day, so the team tried to coax them through into the house.
Who's that? What's that, Brian?
Gordon's orangs were much more sedate than this rowdy bunch, who seemed determined to test out the house to see if it really is chimp-proof. Finally, they start to calm down. It looks like their new house has got the seal of approval. Next time on Monkey Life. A mixed welcome for Sally's chimps when they meet their new neighbours.
Everybody's going to have to get used to the fact that there's another big male around.
And Ruffed Lemur Blue shows the ringtails who's boss. This time on Monkey Life. Brian's on his guard when he comes face to face with his new neighbour, orangutan Tuan.
Everybody's going to have to get used to the fact that there's another big male around.
Baby Leo is finally well enough to meet his new housemates.
Leo is craving that sort of parent figure now.
And Lemur Blue shows the ringtails who's boss. Monkey World in Dorset, buried deep in the English countryside, is the largest sanctuary of its kind on the planet. The team, led by Dr. Alison Cronin, rescues and rehabilitates abused and unwanted primates from all over the world.
Have you packed your stuff? Got your favourite comics and everything?
The park provides a home for more than 240 monkeys and apes from 20 different species. It's the day after the Great Ape Move. Sally's gang have done a house swap with Gordon's mob, because Gordon wasn't happy living next door to the park's other dominant male orangutan, Tuan. Both groups seem to have coped well with the move, but have been kept inside until now. Today, the chimps get to see their new outdoor playground and their new neighbours.
I think this is going to be a really good decision for all of our apes across the board. Separating the male orangutans was the priority here. That's going to be really good. And for the chimpanzees, you know, down here at Pavilions, we've already had a lot of chimpanzees down here. 19 in Paddy's group, 15 in the Bachelor, and now we've got Sally's mob over here too. So they just have to get used to the neighbours.
So, with lots of other chimps living close by, it's going to be a big change for Sally's group. But they do have a massive new climbing frame to look forward to.
Brian's raring to go, so I'm not going to hang about. Brian! Brian! You ready? And they're off.
A very excited Brian leads the way, quickly followed by the others. Despite their squabbles, Brian, Sally, Lulu, Ash and Rodders are a close-knit group. Leader Sally is quick to explore her new surroundings. as is Ash, who heads straight for a bird's-eye view. Lulu is more reticent. She's not keen on change, so it may take her a little longer to adjust. Young Rodders takes it upon himself to do a patrol of the perimeter. He's in for a shock when he finds out who lives next door. Sally is being unusually cautious. She's also being eyed up by the bachelor boys, who've noticed there are suddenly more females on the scene.
To have all of this extra space and height and all of the hosing and everything, it's just fantastic, and they should, develop and grow in this enclosure and have a really nice future.
With the chimps finally calmed down, it's time for them to meet their new neighbours over the large fence. Tuan and his ladies have been kept inside until now to allow the newcomers a chance to find their feet. Gordon didn't feel easy with Tuan next door, but Brian is fascinated.
Brian's on the top of the tower, all puffed up, looking at these new orange people because he's not seen them before. So he's displaying the orang-utans. That kicks the bachelor boys off because they see another big male across the way displaying. So everybody's going to have to get used to the fact that there's another big male around. Really great that Gordon and Tuan are now separate. And Sally's have a new lease on life with a huge enclosure and nice area. Just brilliant. They're really going to enjoy this enclosure.
Another group who love their enclosure are the lemurs. There are 9 ringtails currently living at the park, led by female Fennel. And there's also a ruffed lemur called Blue. Today, staff are preparing them a seasonal treat, but they're going to have to work to reap the benefits.
We'll leave all the seeds and stuff in so they can get their hands in, have a few treats in there. I'm just adding a few bits of raisins and sweet corns, a bit of scatter feed for them, some of their favourite things, so they should be a bit more interested to come over and have a look.
The lemurs are mischievous and have no intention of waiting until Emily has laid all the pumpkins out. With her back turned, Fennel and the dominant male Indiana dig in. Emily has brought lots of pumpkins to give everyone a chance. But Blue has other ideas. She's a law unto herself and certainly doesn't take any notice of leader Fennel. She chases the others away so that she can hog the pumpkins.
Blue's doing her usual trick. She does like to think she's the boss in here, trying to chase them away so she gets first pick of everything.
Blue loves winding the ringtails up.
Hopefully she'll get bored chasing them around soon enough, and then the ringtails can come back and kind of have her leftovers.
Blue finally seems to have disappeared, so Indiana nips in again. Lemurs aren't very nimble-fingered, but that's not stopping Indiana, who's grabbing as much as he can, while Blue is chasing Renton in the trees. It's Renton's turn now, and he's cleverly using his tail to balance. Even low-ranker Douglas is getting a turn, although not for long. He's spotted Blue. In the wild, lemurs do sometimes eat seeds, although their diet mainly consists of fruit, leaves, flowers, and insects. Confident Fennel targets one of the trickier pumpkins.
George, look at this. Come on, then.
But there's one lemur who hasn't had a piece of the action yet. Elderly George has been separated from the others because he's rather slow and suffers from arthritis, so isn't particularly agile. He preferred being on his own, so the team have given him a house next door to the others where he can live out his days in peace. George may be old and have stiff limbs, but there's certainly nothing wrong with his appetite. And with Blue safely out of the way, some would say he has the best of both worlds. Even though he's on his own, George can see the other lemurs, and that's an important part of the philosophy of Monkey World. The team are keen for all the primates to live in social groups as they would in the wild. Today, one of the park's most recent arrivals, baby marmoset Leo, is going to meet his new housemates. Leo was brought here 5 weeks ago after being rescued by the RSPCA. He was in a dreadful state, but with the correct diet and care has made amazing progress. So much so he's being put straight in with 2 other young monkeys.
Well, it's really important that Leo goes with marmosets as soon as he can, really. We would have done it as soon as he arrived, but unfortunately, because of his physical condition, we weren't able to do that. And now that he's really improved and he's moving around, we thought, OK, let's get him in with somebody. And it's just good. It keeps him busy, and it means that he learns all of the social skills, which are really important.
The 2 marmosets Leo is going to live with are also new to the park. The RSPCA asked Alison to rehouse Fred after they discovered he was living in a tiny birdcage in a house in Bridgend.
Fred's got a bit of a weight problem.
Fred is different to the other marmosets at the park.
It's a Jeffroy's marmoset, not a common marmoset that they thought that they had. So really, that marmoset, Fred is his name, needs companionship of his own kind, or at least another marmoset, and we'll get him back to the park and try and do just that for him.
You have a duty of care to that primate, and at the moment, that duty of care isn't good enough.
Fred was confiscated because the RSPCA and Monkey World felt his living conditions and his diet were inappropriate. Just a week after Fred arrived, another marmoset was brought to the park, after once again being confiscated by the RSPCA.
Hey, little man. And his name?
Sammy!
Sammy and Fred were put together immediately and have settled in well.
Fred and Sammy, in some ways, are very similar, but in some ways they're very different as well. They both love their food, which can cause a few squabbles every now and then. We don't see them interacting an awful lot. They groom each other quite a lot, but generally they don't play it that much.
It's time for them to meet baby Leo. Staff are hoping Fred and Sammy will keep a watchful eye over the youngster, who should really still be with his mum. They're a little cautious at first, but they soon seem happy in each other's company. This is a big change for Leo, who in his short life has only ever lived on his own.
He's doing a lot of baby cries, which is a really good sign. It's submissive, and hopefully it will mean that Fred and Sammy will accept him more. He's even gone up to them and started trying to take food off of them. Fred and Sammy do really like their food, so they don't look like they're going to share it anytime soon.
Leo has quickly latched on to Fred and Sammy and wants to be close to them.
He has tried to jump on their backs a couple of times, which they're not overly keen about, which would have been good because obviously Leo is craving that sort of parent figure now. But as long as they all get along and everybody gets a share of the food, then that would be really ideal for us.
Fred, Sammy and Leo are the latest in a huge influx of marmosets to the park and are all victims of the British pet trade. But space is fast running out, and soon the team may have to start turning away small monkeys like these. With Sally and her gang happily settling into their new outdoor space next door to Tuan, attention has now turned to Gordon's group. Over the last few days, it's been all systems go to fortify their new enclosure, ready for their grand entrance. Hefty Gordon is almost 100 kilos, so the team wanted to be certain the climbing frame could hold his weight. But Gordon, Amy, Xiaolan and Lucky are getting restless.
They kind of good at hiding their feelings, the orangs, I guess. They've been locked in for a few days now, and they were starting to get a bit nervous and chase each other a little bit, get a bit intense indoors.
The team do one final check of the perimeter. Orangutans share 97% of a human's DNA, so are super intelligent, and given half a chance, would take the newly refurbished enclosure apart. Gordon's mum, Amy, is first off the starting blocks, followed by Lucky. They're both watched by some curious chimps in nearby Hananya's group. But it's the arrival of the big man himself that really stirs their interest. They're not used to having orange neighbours, and some of them will have never seen an orangutan before. Despite his size, Gordon is surprisingly agile, and the chimps seem mesmerised by him. At his old enclosure, Gordon was overlooked by the bachelor group of chimps, so he takes Hananya's mob all in his stride.
He had a look at the other chimps next door, went up the towers, had a look from there. I didn't see him agitated in any way or about to lose it like the chimps were, but yeah, that's just the way they are.
Lucky has already started to test the foundations, while Xiaolan decides to inspect the new climbing frame. She's a shy orang and likes to spend time on her own. Meanwhile, inquisitive Amy is keeping the keepers on their toes.
Yeah, I don't think that's a very good idea. I might have to sacrifice that.
Amy has a large appetite and has spotted a plant she might be tempted to eat. But Jeremy's concerned it could be dangerous for her. She'll have to make do with boring old grass instead. This doesn't bother slimline Lucky, who has quite a taste for it. As for Gordon, well, there's no stopping him. He seems delighted that he no longer has rival male Tuan watching his every move. Apart from the arrival of new neighbours, there's been a lot going on at Hananya's enclosure in recent weeks. Chimp Cherri gave birth to twins, and they've finally been given names.
We've taken the decision to call the twins Thelma and Louise. Not sure which one's which so far, but we'll attribute one name to one twin as they grow and develop and we can tell the difference. But at the moment, they come as a pair, so it's Thelma and Louise.
Cherri doesn't have the best track record when it comes to motherhood, having lost interest in and abandoned 2 babies in the past. But this time round, she does seem more attentive. The arrival of Thelma and Louise did cause some upheaval in the group, but everyone seems to have got used to the new additions and normal business has been resumed. Being the dominant female, Cherri already commands a lot of respect within the group. But now the twins are here, everyone wants to be her friend. She seems determined to carry on as before, albeit with Thelma and Louise in tow, even joining in a group grooming session of leader Hananya. Simon, who is a high ranker, has been at Cherri's side ever since the twins put in an appearance, taking on the role of doting uncle. But in the last few days, he's finally relaxed a bit, and even found time to play with some of the other females, giving Cherri some much-needed space. Not so for Cherri's other self-appointed minder, low-ranking Arfur.
I think Arthur is probably one of the few animals that Cherri is still a little bit conscious of in terms of his proximity to her. He does tend to get a bit overexcitable, and certainly she keeps, you know, the twins guarded when he's nearby.
The next few weeks will be crucial for Thelma and Louise. The chimp team are keen not to interfere, but at the same time, they will be keeping a close eye on Cherri to make sure she doesn't revert back to her old ways.
There are lots of variables this time as to why it might be different in terms of how we've been able to leave Cherri with the group and not separate her at all for any reason at any stage since she's given birth. The group is maturer. They're quite a stable group that have been together, so Cherri's got a long history with some of the individuals. And certainly we have seen no evidence of her putting those babies down at all, not even for a moment. And what an achievement if she rears those twins. You know, she's a special chimp with a really important role to play in this group. But if she manages to rear those twins, then, you know, she's really going to have a special place in everybody's heart.
Another of the park's babies is growing up fast. Bueno Jr. now spends almost all his time with Levar's group of woolly monkeys. He's been hand-reared since he was born, so still goes home with Alison at night. But that's about to come to an end.
Really quite emotional time, actually. He's so well adjusted and good with his new family. They all love him to bits, everybody in the group, so really our job is now done here, and I feel so proud and pleased. He's happy and content, even with me stood here. He's looking at me like, are we going home now? He looks good to me, and I'm so pleased for him. Really, really nice that he's got a family group of his own kind again.
Bueno Jr. had a difficult start in life. He was born by caesarean section and immediately rejected by his mother Sarah, who was startled to find him clinging to her when she woke. She accidentally damaged his tail, and there was concern he wouldn't have full use of it. But to see him now, you'd never guess he'd been through such trauma.
We've raised a confident, strong, and healthy little woolly monkey, moving around the room with confidence. And from the beginning, we've made sure that he's had good environments in order to be hanging from his tail and clinging on to things quite tightly. So anywhere he goes, he's got a safe place for him that he feels comfortable and happy, and that's the main thing, is making him feel content and happy and like this is his home.
Come on, Junior, let's go. Come on, Junior.
Good boy.
Baby woolly monkeys are very dependent on their mothers. So for the last 5 months, Alison and the team have had to act as foster carers, preparing him as much as they can for life with the woolies.
Where are you going? No, I don't. I just want to wipe you off. Let's get you tidied up.
It'll be interesting to see how gentle or nice he plays with the other woolly monkeys once he fully gets into playing with them, because he plays very rough with us right now. And I've been sort of trying to, like, you know, grab his ears and play rough with him and make him laugh. Because when he's in with the others, this is exactly how it's going to be, and they're going to bite him back quite hard and play hard with him. So he needs to be able to do all of that, and we're encouraging him effectively to be unruly. But
Yes, all the better for it, aren't you, my little man? Isn't it, little man? Yes.
If all goes to plan, this will be the last time Bueno Jr. wears a nappy, and the last time he goes home with Alison. It's time for the little woolly to cut the apron strings and move on with his new family. Next time on Monkey Life. Tragedy for chimp Cherri.
Little Louise is limp and gone.
And a stink fight at the lemur enclosure when two new arrivals are given a rude awakening. Today on Monkey Life. Tragedy at the park when chimp Cherri loses one of her newborn twins.
Little Louise is limp and gone.
A stink fight at the lemur enclosure when two new arrivals are given a rough welcome. And a match made in heaven as Kim and Tuan start work on their duet. held in Dorset, set deep in the English countryside, is the largest sanctuary of its kind on the planet. For more than 25 years, the team, led by Dr. Alison has rescued and rehabilitated abused and unwanted primates from all over the world.
You take a look at her and she's an old dear.
The park now provides a home for more than 240 monkeys and apes from 20 different species. Its aim is to give them a safe and happy life in as natural environment as possible. At Hananya's enclosure, the chimps are unusually quiet. Baby Louise, one of Cherri's newborn twins, has died.
We've had a bit of a tragedy. Came in and first thing this morning, little Louise is limp and gone.
But Cherri is still clinging on to her little daughter. Doting Simon hasn't left her side.
Because Cherri is such a good and focused mother, she's still carrying around little Louise and looking after her and caring for her and wishing her to still come back to life. You know, it's the kind of thing that you'd almost be in disbelief. I can't speak, I've never lost a child, but I can only imagine that somebody who has would want to hold on to that little baby and will it to take another breath.
While Cherri is refusing to let go of Louise, her other twin Thelma is a little bewildered and holding on tight to her mum.
It's really a little bit of a difficult and worrying time because whereas she's having to focus so much attention on supporting and carrying Louise and her little limp body, Thelma is having to cling tight and actually support herself a little bit more because Cherri's attentions are on Louise.
Peggy and Arfur are doing their best to comfort Cherri and Thelma. Arfur has been besotted with the twins ever since they were born. Alison is puzzled over Louise's death.
I'm not quite sure why she passed away. We know that the survival of multiple births is not likely in non-human grade apes, but we're gonna wanna know why. I want to know why, but we're gonna have to get Louise off of Cherri at some point in time. My gut instincts say that she hasn't had major trauma, she hasn't wasted away, and to me, the only thing to leave a perfect little healthy body like that is maybe she suffocated. And looking at Cherri and those two babies, Louise was always tucked sort of down and under lower, sort of around her waist and carried a bit lower. And when she would make nests at night, Louise was always tucked right down in amongst everything, whereas Thelma was sort of more front and center and up high. I'm wondering if there was just a very sad tragedy in the night at this point, and this is just speculation, but if when making the nest and falling asleep, you've got Thelma, Cherri, the nesting material and everything, is it possible that little Louise was just sort of trapped in amongst all of that and couldn't get enough air in and simply suffocated and went in the night?
But it is just a guess, and Alison believes it's important to find out exactly what happened.
As soon as we are able to get hold of Louise, I would definitely send her off for a post-mortem, mainly just because I want to know if there was anything that we should have seen, could have done for her, and perhaps more importantly, is there anything that we should be doing for Thelma? If animals die, a lot of the time, the information that you gain from tragic situations can be even more important than you gain from wonderful situations because it will help you avoid tragedies in the future. So yeah, if we can get hold of Louise, we'll definitely be sending her off for a medical exam.
Away from Hananya's enclosure, spirits are much brighter. It's been several weeks now since golden-cheeked gibbons Tuan and Kim were paired up, and it seems to be a love story in the making. Tuan used to sing with his family, but started singing on his own a few months ago. That was one of the reasons staff knew he needed to move, as male gibbons do this when they're ready to look for a mate. But now Kim has started to sing with him. This is a great sign that the two of them have hit it off. Golden-cheeked gibbons are found in Vietnam, Cambodia and Laos, and in the wild they sing a short duet most mornings. This is to mark their territory and also to show their social status. The male and female have their own different parts of the duet to sing, but it takes a lot of practice to get it right. Kim's song is far from perfect. She hasn't got the hang of the big, high, strong notes yet. But she is hitting the smaller notes, and generally they're in the right place and at the right time. As for Tien, his song is more sophisticated than Kim's. But he's going to have to learn to adapt it so that Kim can join in. Eventually, she should take the lead. Kim still has a lot of growing up to do. At 5 years old, she was very young to have left her family and isn't fully matured. Over the next few months, she's likely to go through the colour change that happens to all adolescent female golden-cheeked gibbons, where they turn from black to blonde. They may not be the most tuneful of gibbons yet, but Kim and Tien certainly seem to have got off on the right note. Two more primates hoping to get off to a good start are just settling into their new home at Malagasy, the lemur enclosure. Twins Friedrich and Kurt arrived in Dorset last night. They were living at a zoo in Austria. But they've grown up and it's time for them to leave their family group. So Monkey World has offered to take them in. But lemurs aren't known for being particularly friendly to newcomers. So they're going to have to work hard to be accepted by the rest of the ringtails here. The two brothers were up at the crack of dawn, eager to have a look outside and spot their new housemates. Friedrich and Kurt are cautious. The team is going to introduce them to the other lemurs gradually. They know the ringtails are likely to give the twins a hard time. Normally, the lemurs are allowed to roam freely around their large outdoor enclosure, but it's been decided to contain them for this introduction, just to be on the safe side. Himal, one of the youngest lemurs at the park, and Houdini, who is known for having a gentle temperament, are waiting to meet the boys who stick together nervously. Houdini heads straight for them, but they sense he's not about to make them feel welcome. Houdini rubs his wrists on his tail and then proceeds to flick it at them. It's a stink fight, and the brothers are not impressed. Himal sits on the sidelines, watching his friend Houdini load up again. Lemurs have scent glands on their wrists, which produce an odour. In the wild, this technique is used to resolve things like territory disputes and squabbles over food. Houdini is only a mid-ranker in the group, and he normally gets on with everyone. But he seems determined to put the twins in their place. It's time for some of the others to get in on the action, and they all seem keen to make their mark. Dominant male Indiana starts scent marking, and Renton follows suit. Kurt shows he's no pushover by trying to claim a bit of territory for himself. But the lemur Kurt and Friedrich really need to win over is leader Fennel. Females are in charge in ringtail society, and she can protect them if she's on side. The brothers decide the best way to impress her is by throwing her some stink. You may need to work on your chat-up lines, boys. There's excitement at Oaska's woolly monkey house. Xingu is pregnant. These South American primates are highly endangered in the wild and extremely difficult to breed in captivity. So this is great news, especially as Oaska is the father. He's extremely valuable to the breeding program because he's wild caught and has only had one baby so far, so his bloodline is very important. It's tricky for the team to guess when the baby's due, although staff do keep detailed records and they know that woolly pregnancies last 7.5 months.
Well, when we look at Xingu's chart, which is just here, Xingu was seen mating around about March time. So when we're looking at it now, it means that she's probably only got another few weeks to go.
This isn't the first baby for Xingu. She has had one before, but sadly she lost it early on as a result of a bacterial infection.
Xingu's baby, unfortunately, did pass away at about 9 days old. Fingers crossed it's all going to go well this time. All we can do really is make sure that Xingu is as healthy as possible.
Despite the tragedy, Xingu did show great maternal instincts, so the staff are very hopeful.
Xingu's going to be a fantastic mum. I can't wait to see her with a baby again. She's so attentive, she's so proud of her baby as well. The last time when she'd given birth, she sat at the window of the house and waited for us to come in and see her, and she showed the baby off to us, and we were just so proud of it, but very, very protective of it, so she was a brilliant mum.
Xingu has learned a lot from her mother Urema about how to rear babies. Urema is now the dominant female in Chippy's group and still has 2 children to look after, 2-year-old Ava and 4-year-old Enzo. Although Chippy is the boss in his group, it's Urema who rules the roost. Fruit makes up a large part of a woolly monkey's diet, and today they've been given a special treat of grapes on the vine. But they're having to work for them. Paolo is now 6 years old and very confident. He has no problem getting to the grapes, but suddenly develops butterfingers. Bronco, who's a boisterous young male, has chosen a basket further down and goes off to enjoy his reward in peace, leaving Chippy to nip in and feast on the leftovers. Bronco doesn't seem to mind. There's plenty for everyone. Chippy is using his prehensile tail, which acts as a 5th limb, to get to the goodies. And young Enzo is copying him. But he hasn't quite mastered the art and gets himself tied up in knots. Urema decides it's time her daughter Ava got a look in. But boss Chippy is hogging her basket. Urema politely persists, and Chippy eventually gets the message, although he grabs plenty to take with him. Ava seems quite happy fishing out the grapes on her own, so Urema leaves her to it. But greedy Paolo is waiting in the wings and swoops as soon as the coast is clear. Ava gives up on the grapes. She's decided there's an easier way to get food. So while the others are still munching on their grapes, she hunts out her mum again, whom she's still feeding from. Xingu has all this to look forward to. There's only one Saki monkey at the park, and he's called Jethro. The team don't want any of the residents to live alone, so have tried to introduce him to several different primates since he arrived 2 years ago. Recently, he's been living with cotton-top tamarin Uncas, who was also on his own, having lost his partner Alice. And, for a while, the unlikely pair did live quite harmoniously. But they've had a squabble, so they've been split up. Jethro is now living with the squirrel monkeys, who he's lived with before. And that seems to be going quite well. He doesn't interact with them very much, but seems to enjoy their company. He also loves their big enclosure, where he can potter around and sunbathe to his heart's content. As for Uncas, well, he's about to have a new playmate. The staff are making a few modifications to the house as an elderly male cotton-top who has recently lost his mate is due to arrive any time.
We don't know exactly what his mobility is like, but it could be that it's not that great. So we just want to put enough in so that we know that he can get around well enough. Obviously, he's going to be a bit unsure. It's a new room and new people as well. So we just want to try and make him as comfortable as possible. And if he arrives and he's moving around really well, we can always take some of it out. And also, if he seems to be struggling still, we can add more in. So it's just to try and help him out, really.
Uncas and his previous partner Alice were named after characters out of the historical novel, The Last of the Mohicans. As Uncas's new friend doesn't have a name, the team have decided to continue that theme, calling him Hawkeye. Hawkeye seems quite nimble for his 18 years and is moving around the house well. So it's time for him to meet Uncas. Uncas goes straight over to introduce himself. The two are clearly intrigued by each other, but are keeping their distance. Uncas moves around the room, keen to let this newcomer know that he was there first. Hawkeye decides to retreat to a back bedroom. Maybe he needs some time to adjust. But Uncas is hot on his heels, determined not to let him out of his sight. Whether Hawkeye likes it or not, he seems to have acquired a new best friend. Cotton tops are just one of many monkey species at the park, but the cleverest of all of them are the capuchins. The team has decided to put their intelligence to the test by building a mini termite mound out of an old drain pipe. Staff have put tubes into the pipe, which they're filling with rice pudding. The monkeys will have to work out how to get it. If they're crafty enough, these sticks of bamboo should help. Felipe is first on the scene. He's a high ranker. He lifts one of the sticks and finds food on the end, but discards it, not realizing he could use it to get to the rice pudding. A crowd is now beginning to gather, and young Fabian is next to investigate. He too grabs a stick and tastes the rice pudding, but again throws away the secret weapon. When he tries to go back to the hole, Felipe scares him off. Marcy has joined Felipe now, and brave Fabian tries to sneak around the back. But Felipe spots him. Marcy and Felipe are baffled, so Felipe decides to call it a day. It's time for leader Winslow to show the others how it's done. But with no bamboo sticks left in the holes, he's not sure how to proceed, so tries to get to the yummy treat with his fingers, with high-ranking Fiona joining in. Meanwhile, young Fabian is hatching a plan. Frustrated Winslow has resorted to licking the pipe for any smears of rice pudding. He may be the boss, but on this occasion, he's lacking the brains. Winslow gives up and bows out. Fabian immediately leaps back on. He has an idea which he's desperate to try. Top marks for Fabian, he's cracked it. But before he has a chance to indulge, Felipe's back. However, he hasn't been paying attention. He tries to work out what Fabian's done, but hasn't a clue. All eyes are on him. It's all a bit embarrassing for the cocky capuchin. He has to admit defeat. Fabian may not be very high in the pecking order, but he's managed to outwit all his compatriots. Next time on Monkey Life. A special trip to Vietnam for Alison, to release 2 more golden-cheeked gibbons back into the wild.
We're just a short trek now away from the release site. So far, so good, and they're looking good.
But there's trouble when a rival male appears on the scene. This time on Monkey Life, Alison is in Vietnam to release 2 golden-cheeked gibbons back into the wild.
We're just a short trek now away from the release site. So far, so good, and they're looking good.
But there's trouble when a rival male appears on the scene.
We've just heard a big crash. It could be Lumhuyen. I don't know. They're all chasing around, but we'll go and see.
Down, but not out. Will Lumhuyen manage to find his mate Misu again? This is Dau Tien Rescue Centre in Vietnam. It's the sister sanctuary of Monkey World in Dorset, and the staff here dedicate their lives to rescuing and rehabilitating endangered Vietnamese primates.
We got him. All good. Our team are brilliant.
Alison has travelled 6,000 miles from the UK to visit the centre, which lies 160 miles northeast of the capital, Ho Chi Minh City. Vietnam is one of the most densely populated countries in Southeast Asia. Monkey World decided to open a centre here because, outside of its bustling cities, it's rich in exotic species, but struggles with the illegal trade in wildlife. Alison makes regular trips to Vietnam, but this time she's brought along wildlife vet John Lewis.
It's 5 years now since we've been working in southern Vietnam, and it's time to sit down and take stock, really. We've rehabilitated and released pygmy loris, black-shanked Duklangers, and golden-cheeked gibbons, and after 5 years, it's really, we need to look at our success and our failures, because there's been a little bit of both. So it's time to make a plan for the next 5 years.
The rescue centre lies within Cat Tien National Park. The only way to get to it is by boat, as it's based on an island surrounded by the Dong Nai River. The current manager of the centre is Lee Butler.
Good to see you. Long time.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Unlike Monkey World, Dau Tien does not provide a home for rescued animals for the rest of their lives. It's very much a halfway house. Their ideal scenario is to release them back into the wild, although this isn't always possible.
The question is, should we tap him down and do a proper health check?
Well,
I know.
yeah.
It's straight down to business. Alison wants to make the most of the limited time she has here. But during the afternoon, the inevitable heavy rain clouds gather, bringing an abrupt end to their first day's work on the island. Most of the primates which pass through Dau Tien are golden-cheeked gibbons. Today, the team wants to carry out health checks on a female called Nhi and a young male called Binh, who's recently arrived at the centre.
Health checks for these gibbons are extremely important, particularly when they first come into the centre. Often they've been held as a pet, or perhaps in circus, and they would have been exposed, or potentially exposed, to a lot of human diseases, which can impact on their health. So the first thing we do is check them to see if they have contracted any human disease, like tuberculosis, for example. And there are other things we need to do, like put microchips in them to uniquely identify them. And there may be specific tests for animals with particular problems that we want to investigate.
Binh is up first, and Lee has been given the job of injecting him. Binh knows Lee, so is more likely to cooperate.
This should be a relatively smooth operation, but we need to stay back and be calm and quiet as to not upset him.
Lee hangs a net in the enclosure to break Binh's fall when the drugs begin to take effect. As soon as he's down, John takes over. This is the first time they've been able to properly examine Binh. He was confiscated by the Forestry Protection Department after being held illegally.
The canines are good.
Body condition good?
So far.
Binh seems to be in good health. John is putting a microchip under Binh's skin so he can be identified in the future. He's also taking some bloods so he can carry out some routine tests. And weighing the primates is important to monitor their progress.
6.9.
6.9 kilos is a good weight for a gibbon of Binh's age. One down, one to go.
This is Nee, female Nee, and she's just gonna have some bloods taken and a birth control implant.
But once Nee is on the table, the team hits problems. She's overheating.
62, 63 heart rate. It's extremely warm. We're sort of middle of the day. You give them an anaesthetic, they're unable to regulate their temperature, it can shoot through the roof, and you immediately go into really big medical problems if they overheat. So it's absolutely critical that we monitor their body temperature, their blood pressure, their heart rate. 38.7.
Nee's temperature begins to fall, so the team plows on.
Okay, blood, so implant.
Some of the female gibbons are given contraceptive implants because the team doesn't want them to have any more babies unless they're being released into the wild. They want youngsters to grow up in the forest, not in captivity. As well as golden-cheeked gibbons, Tuan also looks after two other native species: black-shanked douklangers and pygmy loris. During her many visits to Vietnam, Alison has observed the illegal trade in pygmy loris firsthand. Most are stolen from forests, either for the pet trade or they're killed and their body parts are used in traditional medicine. Baby Huai is the latest loris to end up at Tuan. He's just 15 weeks old.
His mother came to us as a victim of the pet trade. We know she was a victim of the pet trade because her teeth had been removed, which is quite common for pet trade loris because they have a venomous bite. And so she came in pregnant and gave birth to little Huai with one other infant. Sadly, Thor, the mother, and the other infant died. We think predator attack. So sadly, little one here is having to be hand-reared, but is doing really well under the circumstances. He's very strong. He's got a very feisty little personality. And, yeah, fingers crossed.
The team at Tuan regularly patrols the island, looking for snakes and other predators. But they're being extra vigilant at the moment, as there seem to be more than usual. A monitor lizard could easily take out a loris. Heavy rain showers are part of life in Vietnam, and the team has to work through them. Lee and John are on their way to a city called Binh Hoa, with two golden-cheeked gibbons who need x-rays. Tuan doesn't have the specialist equipment needed to do them. 8-year-old Ellie has been at the centre for 4 years. Recently, the staff have noticed she's having a problem with her back and want to find out why. They're also taking a young male gibbon who was riddled with gunshot pellets when he arrived at the centre. They need to know if any remaining pellets are either too close to or have damaged any of his major organs. After a 3-hour drive, they arrive in Binh Hoa. And while Lee checks on the patients, John prepares the anaesthetic. Ellie is of particular concern to John.
Since being in the centre, she's developed a profound curvature of the spine. So we want to know what's happened to the bones, and it's difficult without some sort of imaging to identify the exact problem simply by examining her clinically. So we're going for X-ray to start with.
For speed, John uses a blowpipe, and she's soon asleep. They need to place Ellie carefully to make sure they get the best view of her back on the X-ray. It doesn't take long for the Vietnamese technicians to produce the images.
Okay, let's have a look. The curvature is extreme. There's a kink, for want of a better expression, here. I'm not sufficient of an orthopaedic specialist to tell you what's caused that, although for me that looks traumatic. Some trauma, some fall or whatever. But what's surprising, with that degree of spinal deformity, that there aren't neurological problems further down, because you'd expect some degree of spinal cord damage to go along with that degree of spinal damage. So it is still curious, and I'd like to refer that for a better opinion than mine.
Once Ellie is safely awake, all eyes fall on the little male called Tien. The X-ray will help John decide whether he needs to operate to remove the gunshot pellets.
3 pellets, I think it was, were removed from just under the skin when it came in. But as you can see, these white spots are lead shot. So there's another 6 shot particles in the body. Now, that may not cause a problem. And if they're not surgically very accessible, and the gibbon is behaving normally, I would leave that alone. The only issue would be whether those pellets had damaged some vital structure. And that we can determine clinically.
So, with Ellie and Tien carefully back in their travelling crates, John and Lee head back to Dao Tien. Since Monkey World's sister sanctuary Dao Tien opened 5 years ago, the team has managed to release 2 family groups of golden-cheeked gibbons back into the wild, as well as 15 pygmy loris and 4 black-shanked douglangers who are now breeding. Releases are always fraught with danger, as the wild is not an easy place for these animals to live. But the staff do a huge amount of research to make sure the places they choose to set the primates free are as safe as possible. It's been a difficult but rewarding journey for the team.
Dao Tien, as its name is, means Angel Island, was just that for us. It was a godsend because it ticked all of those boxes we needed in order to get these primates rehabilitated and back out into the wild.
Today, 2 more gibbons are going to be released in the national park. They've been at Dao Tien for 4 years after being confiscated by authorities in an amusement park. Both the female Misu and the male Lumhuyen were originally stolen from the wild as infants, and staff believe they're now ready to be set free again.
Really can't wait to see yet another pair that I've known since they were quite young going back out into the wild. It's just fantastic. It's what this whole project is about.
Misu and Lumhuyen have been living in a semi-free area at Dao Tien for the last 18 months to prepare them for the big moment, and so have already had to fend for themselves to a certain extent.
We're just a short trek now away from the release site, so we'll get the gibbons quietly, gently off of the truck out to the release site and into their holding pen. We'll stay for the day, overnight, and tomorrow's the big day, so far so good.
Cat Tien is a lot safer for wildlife than most national parks in Vietnam because they have more trained forest rangers there who are known as the Kim Lam. The team at Dao Tien, along with Mr. Binh and other Kim Lam, has chosen a site which has good strong trees for the gibbons to swing through and plenty of fruiting trees so they have enough food. They've also done surveys to make sure there are no other gibbons in the area, as they're fiercely territorial.
Alison. Yes. Fruits that Mr. Binh has just picked up are boa fruit, which is one of the main feed items for the wild gibbons. So he's picked a few up and we'll give them to the gibbons now. So it's fantastic.
Misu is released into the holding pen first, closely followed by Lumhuyen. The team needs to keep them as calm as possible.
The pair of them really are coping with the move and the release into that cage, that release cage, extraordinarily well. So I would have thought they were good to go tomorrow.
The fact that they're eating is a good sign, as it means they're not too stressed. The team always put tracking collars on their rehabilitated gibbons so they can monitor them.
This is the directions where you should point.
Dr. Curtis Pei, who helped to set up Dao Tien, has flown in from Taiwan to advise Mr. Binh and the Kim Lam, who will follow the gibbons in the months to come.
Strong.
Once Misu and Lumhuyen are settled, they're left alone to adjust to the new smells and sounds around them. The team likes to do releases in the morning to allow the gibbons plenty of time to get to know their surroundings before nightfall. Misu and Lumhuyen are waiting expectantly when they arrive.
This morning they will have been given a little bit of food inside of the cage, but really what we want them to do is to come out and start going after the wild fruits in the area, because we know that this is a really good quality of forest and there's plenty of food out there for them. So we've got a few people here to be following them today, and we'll just have to see how we go. But fingers crossed for Lumhuyen and Misu. It's been a long way to get them here.
The Kim Lam work closely with Dao Tien and play a vital role in these releases, so Mr. Binh is given the honour of setting the gibbons free. Misu lets Lumhuyen take the lead.
Yeah, so what a momentous day, you know, it's pretty huge. And what's great is that Lumhuyen and Misu have gone up into the trees and haven't even looked back at us. I think we've got all of the boxes ticked, and just really pleased for them. And now I think it's time for all of us to leave, because we're noisy and awkward and it just distracts them. And we'll come back tomorrow morning, get out the telemetry gear and see how far they've traveled, if at all. So, really good day.
Next morning, the team returns to the release site armed with the radio transmitter to check on Misu and Lumhuyen. And they hear them calling.
This is it. That's them calling.
They spot the two gibbons high in the canopy. But then suddenly, another male appears and starts to chase Lumhuyen.
I don't know. I think we've just heard a big crash. It could be Lumhuyen. I don't know. They're all chasing around, but we'll go and see.
It looks like the site may just be on the edge of another gibbon's territory, and that's bad news.
Wait a moment. He's right here. Cow-eye sees him.
They spot Lumhuyen on the floor and now have to make the difficult decision as to whether to intervene. It's possible the other male is trying to pair up with Misu.
We've got Lumhuyen down on the ground, which for a gibbon is always a bad sign. We just need to know right now that actually he's physically fit, and I'm not entirely sure.
They decide they have to try to help Lumhuyen.
We're gonna try and push him to the cage.
But he starts moving.
He's up. We back off. Back off. Hello, my friend.
Lumhuyen seems okay, just a little shell-shocked.
I think he's healthy, but he's only staying at this his height and he's frightened. We've got a standoff right now between Lumhuyen and the rival male that came into the area this morning. Lumhuyen's down low on the ground. Misu's left, probably waiting to see which male's going to be the winner. And we just now need to make sure that Lumhuyen can find himself a place up off of the ground. We can't leave him here down low. He won't survive. So, tense time right now. And he's fit and he's healthy, but he's terrified and staying down really low. So we're going to have to work on this and monitor this for a bit.
Lumhuyen bolts away, but he's staying low. As he heads deeper into the forest, the team tries to track him using the transmitter.
There he is. It's very possible that the rival male has returned to his territory and his female. We don't know for sure. We do know for sure with the radio collars that Lumhuyen's still over in the trees here, not terribly high, and that Misu's up the road this way. He's got to get his act together and get back up into the trees and get strong. Otherwise, we can't leave him out here.
Lumhuyen and Misu's future is not guaranteed. Only time will tell whether the rival male will be successful and take Misu away as his mate. The wild is wonderful and the best place for gibbons, but it's not always the safest option. Next time on Monkey Life,
Morning, Jim.
Alison goes to the rescue of 4 more marmosets in Cheshire, but all is not what it seems.
I think we definitely have 2 different species here.
And it's all change at the orang nursery to make way for an orphaned baby from Hungary.